Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
I'm so sorry, Mr. Medwick. I didn't realize you meant me to stop. I'm terribly late.
You saw my sign, Mrs.
Mrs. Malcolm Tawley. I'm afraid I'm holding up the whole meeting since I do happen to be the president.
Well, I'll have to report you to the police department.
Well, I hope you'll remember that you had not stepped off the curb.
Well,
He's here to protect the children, not the teachers. The children aren't out. Officious old man.
She's president of the Parents' Safety Council, didn't you know?
Well, she should have stopped.
So sorry, Mr. Medwick. I didn't realize you meant me to stop. I'm terribly late.
You saw my sign, Mrs.
Mrs. Malcolm Tawley. I'm afraid I'm holding up the whole meeting since I do happen to be the president.
Well, I'll have to report you to the police department.
Well, I hope you'll remember that you had not stepped off the curb.
Well,
He's not here to protect the teachers, is he? The children aren't out. Officious old man.
She's president of the Parents' Safety Council, didn't you know?
Well, she should have stopped. Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
I'm so sorry, Mr. Medwick. I didn't realize you meant me to stop. I'm terribly late.
You saw my sign, Mrs.
Mrs. Malcolm Tawley. I'm afraid I'm holding up the whole meeting since I do happen to be the president.
Well, I'll have to report you to the police department.
Well, I hope you'll remember that you had not stepped off the curb.
Well,
He's not here to protect the teachers, is he? The children aren't out. Officious old man.
She's president of the Parents' Safety Council, didn't you know?
Well, she should have stopped.
Hey, pretty nice, huh? What do you say?
I'm not gonna move in this house. That's old Mr. Medwick from Kansas City out there on the corner. And I tell you, he knows me. And I'm not gonna move in a new town and have all that old stuff thrown up at me again. I'm just not.
Oh, that was years ago, honey. He won't know you.
Oh, don't kid yourself. He never missed a single picture in the papers, and there must have been 1,000,000 of them.
Oh, forget it.
I want to forget it. I'm trying to forget it. That's why I'm not going to move in this house, Harry. With that old guy out there on the corner all day, how can I?
Well, it's a pretty good buy, this house. We're all set. The furniture's coming tomorrow.
Not me. I'm not going to go through that again.
You want me to get rid of the house? That costs money. Why don't you just keep away from him?
He must be the guy for the school kids. Didn't you see that every day? You might as well get rid of the house, Harry, because I'm not going to live here.
What if I get rid of the old guy?
Sure. You're going to get rid of him.
Oh, Granddad. Happy birthday again. Where have you been?
Getting a haircut. Where's your grandma?
Oh, she's fussing away in the kitchen as usual. We'll be through here in a minute.
That's okay. I better go get cleaned up.
Now, don't you see it?
Well, AB is equal to CD.
Yes, Ron. Why?
Okay to walk in?
Remember the construction? Pat?
Am I early?
No, we're a little late this lesson. We'll just be a few minutes. Oh, Pat, this is Ron Tawley. Ron, this is Mr. Lawrence, my fiancé.
Hi. Hi, Ron.
Will you excuse us? Grandmother's in the kitchen.
Oh, no. I'll read a book.
Now, AB is equal to CD because that was given here. Now.
Wait a minute.
I'll get it.
Well, that makes it 180 degrees.
Yes. Now, what about this angle? Here.
It's for you, Ron. How's teacher?
Teacher's fine.
Where's the birthday kid?
He's in cleaning up for his party.
This lad Tawley doesn't dig geometry, huh? I bet he could read a football diagram.
He just needs a little kind encouragement.
So do I.
I see. Yes, Ron. Now,
My mom says I should pay you up. She says she owes you $6.
All right, Ron. Thank you very much.
I'm not coming anymore.
Why not?
Oh, that's all I know is that's what she said.
Well, Ron, did you tell her that you felt ready for the finals? Do you?
Well, I didn't tell her anything. That's all I know is that's what she said. Well, so long, Miss Medwick.
Oh, Ron, I wish you luck.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
So you got fired. It's nothing, honey. Everybody gets fired now and then.
Oh, I know, but I don't understand it. I think I'll call Mrs. Tawley.
Now, don't call her. She could have asked for you. Just forget about it.
I know, but I think there's some misunderstanding.
Well, gee, darling, how are you?
Hi, Jane.
Hello. Hello, Pat.
Pauline.
Huh?
Jeffrey.
Where's Mother?
Right here.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, Miss Medwick.
Let's lay these right down.
Mother.
It's nice to see you all.
Hey, what smells so good there?
Mother, can I help you?
Oh, no, dear. Everything's in order.
Happy birthday, Dad Medwick.
How you feeling, Dad?
Oh, about a day older than I did yesterday, just like everybody else.
I brought a little something for the occasion, sir.
Oh, say now.
Dear, that was very nice of you.
Dad, the usual. I didn't know what you wanted. You buy something for yourself.
That's mighty fine, thanks.
And many happy returns.
See the tie that Janie gave me?
Hey, that's nice.
Lovely.
Well, dinner will be ready in 15 minutes. Jeffrey, will you serve the sherry?
Certainly, Mother.
Pat, would you like a little glass of sherry?
Can I help you?
Yes, I think I
Just
would.
a few little snacks. Nothing much.
I haven't.
I just didn't want to spoil your appetite.
Get her?
No, the number didn't answer.
Something wrong, Janie?
Nothing serious, Granddad.
She just got fired, that's all.
Fired? Who fired you, Jane?
I lost one of my tutoring jobs. The mother called up and...
Who called up?
Mrs. Malcolm Tawley.
Tawley. That's Security First Bank.
I suppose so. Ron and I were getting along very well, I thought.
Mother, this
Well,
is
why did she fire you, Jane?
Well, that's what I don't know, Uncle Jeffrey.
Tawley, eh? Betcha I know why.
What's that, sir?
Well, I had a bit of a run-in this afternoon with Mrs. Malcolm Tawley, her and her big convertible.
Oh, Grandpa, that couldn't possibly have anything to do with this. Oh, I'll get it. Oh, hello, Chief Taylor.
Miss Medwick, your grandfather in?
Yes, of course. Grandpa, Chief Taylor to see you.
Well,
I see you just a moment. Oh, Mrs. Medwick.
We're having a glass of sherry before dinner, Mr. Taylor. Would you come in and join us?
No, thank you very much. Just a little business. Could we talk outside?
certainly. Excuse us. We're having a sort of a family party.
I've got a rather unpleasant duty.
Well,
I've had a complaint.
that's so.
I've got to let you go.
What do you mean?
I can't keep you on. Now, I'm not saying I believe this personally, you understand. But I've got a duty and I've got to do it. I thought the best thing to do was to stop by here and give it to you right to your face.
Well, what's the trouble?
Well, it's kind of hard to know how to put it. But I've had a complaint that you're a little too fond of the kids, of the little girls. Now, I'm not saying that's true, mind you. But if there's one thing we insist on with a crossing guard is a good moral background. So when I get a complaint like this,
It's not true. Do you believe that?
whether I believe it has nothing to do with it. But I can't take any risks with the children, none whatsoever. So I have no other choice.
Who told you? Who complained?
someone wrote a note to the PTA president, Miss Parker. She got together with Rigsby, the principal, and there were a couple of parents. They got all riled up. I have no choice.
It isn't true.
Well, if it isn't true, I'm glad to hear that. Maybe there's some way it can be straightened out. But in the meantime, you're gonna have to stay away from the school. I hope you understand that.
How do I straighten it out? Can you tell me that?
I don't know. The only thing I know is that I've done the only thing I could do under the circumstances. The best way I know how. Goodbye, Medwick.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Dad.
Catch him?
Now, look, Dad, Taylor had to fire you. He doesn't believe this any more than I do. But here's what I think. I think this may be a good break.
A what?
Now, wait a minute. Dad, you don't have to work for a living. You're not getting any younger. The thing is this, for a long time now, Pauline and I have wanted you to break up this place. Now, wait a minute, Ma, hear me out. Isn't it wise to take advantage of this opportunity? Janie's going to be married at the end of this month, and frankly, when she moves out, I don't like the idea of you being alone in this place. Why don't you come to us, Dad? Ma, right now.
Isn't true, you know.
Oh, for Pete's sake, I know that. It's just some crank. But what's the point of letting it upset you? There's not going to be an open scandal. You just quit, see, and come to us. I've wanted you where I can keep an eye on you. And so has Pauline. And, Ma, it's high time you took things a little easier.
It's too much for Pauline.
Not at all. Why, we've wanted you for a long time.
You see? Now, how about it, Dad?
Up to your mother.
But it's such a big step, dear. We can manage. We don't need much.
You know it's not true, Elsa.
What, dear?
That. About me.
Well, of course it's not true, James. It's too silly to give any attention. And losing that little job's not important. Not really. Well, isn't anybody hungry at all?
I don't feel like eating any supper right now. If you'll all excuse me, I think I'll go lie down for a while.
Yes, of course, Granddad. You do just as you please.
We've got to get them away. We've got to get them thinking about something else. I know this is short notice, Pauline, but we can do it.
Oh, we can. I'm sure it's the right thing.
Are you, Jane?
Well, I think Uncle Jeffrey's being very thoughtful, and Aunt Pauline is being nice.
But it's not fit.
I've got to go in there. I can't bear to see them alone.
What did Taylor tell you?
He was on the spot. Head of the PTA, principal of the school, both coming to him.
You are going to talk to them.
Well, I think we should make some kind of a dignified denial.
About what?
Well, about this thing with Dad.
By whom?
By us, naturally.
What about a reversal about this false accusation by them?
They can't.
You mean you see their point of view?
They have a public responsibility. The school, the police, have even one child in...
Now, wait a minute. You mean you don't believe him, your own father?
Well, of course I do, but that's not the point.
That's got to be the point.
No. The schools can't and won't take chances where kids are concerned.
They wouldn't be taking any chances. Your father isn't that kind of man. The risk doesn't exist.
Well, you get this through your head. I'm trying to save this situation in the best possible way.
Jane, what do you think we should do about this?
I don't know what we should do, Pat.
Well, I say we can't afford to let it go 1 inch further. Pat, what's the matter with you? Anything we try is going to make it worse. When a nasty thing like this spreads around town, it's going to be worse for Dad. It'll be worse for all of us. Listen, it's no punishment, you know, for them to live with us in perfect security.
Security.
What do I have to say to you? You start a fuss and this thing gets publicity, boy, we have had it. For Mom, Dad, Jane, you, Pauline, myself. Be nice for my kids. You know, Dad doesn't need that job. Part-time, poor pay. The job doesn't mean a thing.
You think not?
Well, he's not in need of money.
Who's talking about money?
The man is old. The job isn't his whole life.
He's alive.
Pat, it just breaks my heart.
The man is 68 today. What of it? I say he's alive. He counts. And he doesn't have to go through this.
Now, don't get excited.
Why not? I am excited. I say that any man, young or old or rich or poor, when he's faced with a lie about himself, has got to get excited. Now, you believe him and I believe him, so somebody has got to be lying. We don't even know where the lie comes from. There's got to be some inquiry.
Oh, no. No, you stay out of this. I say it's not worth it.
Is that so? Well, tell me, when does a man's honorable name become worthless? When he's 68? 67? When?
Oh, now, don't be foolish. I'll handle this. You know, you're not family.
That's true.
Wait a minute. I'm family. And I think Pat's right. I think we have to fight a lie.
But you can't win.
Your idea is to have the old man swallow the disgrace for the sake of peace and quiet?
No, all I'm trying to tell you...
You're trying to tell us that Grandpa should be condemned without a trial.
Oh, listen, theoretically, I agree with you. But, Janie, will you do me a favor? Will you stop being so young? Just for a moment, listen to me. You're going to lose your teaching job. My business is going to be affected. And so is Pat's. There's going to be nasty talk. And on top of all that, Dad will never be reinstated. You can't win. Now, please, don't make this any worse than it is.
It depends upon what you think is worse.
We have to try. We have to approve of ourselves. At least we can win that much. Come on, Pat.
I don't feel like talking anymore right now.
The trouble is, Mr. Medwick, this thing has got to be fought, so we'd better talk. We've got to get to the bottom of this ridiculous charge. Find out who wrote that note and why. You don't have to take this kind of stuff.
Of course not.
You say it isn't true? Okay, then we fight.
Well, I was figuring on fighting. While I've been lying here, I figured out who was back of this whole thing. Mrs. Tawley.
Tawley?
You want to give me a hand, Pat? You're a bit younger in the legs than I am, and this is going to take a lot of trotting around as far as I can see. Come on, we better figure where to start. Because it's a lie.
I hadn't realized, Miss Medwick, that you're related. I am sorry. This is Mrs. Parker, president of our PTA. I thought you'd want to talk to her also.
Yes, of course. I'm glad she's here. We've come to ask about these surprising accusations. My grandfather denies it.
Naturally. But it's hardly likely that a situation like this should arise out of nowhere. You must think of it as an illness, my dear.
Please.
I'll tell you what I can. A note was left in a car at the curb yesterday addressed to the president of the PTA. Mrs. Parker, of course, showed it to me at once. We naturally spoke to Chief Taylor.
I see.
What was in the note? Madam, Medwick is a vicious old man. Better get him away from the kids, especially the little girls. Signed, Interested. And on the strength of this alone, you fired the man?
Not this alone. In fact, two of our mothers more or less corroborate it. I'm sorry.
Who were they?
Don't you see? If this is an anonymous note, we have to find out what these women are saying.
The school deplores. Parents, you know, are quite naturally very excitable. We had rather hoped...
If you had hoped that we would give up this thing by default, you're wrong. People who write lying anonymous notes can't be allowed to win.
Win?
Yes, win. Succeed in getting a man fired from a job he was doing honorably and well.
I see your point, but you must also see mine. Any breath of this sort of thing is intolerable.
So is injustice.
What is it you want of me?
What we want of you eventually is Mr. Medwick cleared and reemployed.
I assure you, if you're going to interview parents and cause them to become as excited as they will become, there will be no chance of Mr. Medwick's reemployment.
Would there be any chance of his reemployment if we didn't investigate? Those names, please.
Mrs. Sidney Sinden, Mrs. Malcolm Tawley.
Tawley?
Mrs. Parker, how did you get the note?
Why, Mrs. Tawley gave it to little Mary Jane Ryder, one of our 5th graders. She brought it into the school.
Tawley?
It was left in Mrs. Tawley's car.
Why? Was she ever president of the PTA?
No. She's president of our safety council.
Yes. You've heard that Mrs. Tawley and Mr. Medwick had a run-in.
I don't listen to gossip.
If you're implying that a woman of Mrs. Tawley's character...
What is her character?
Don't you know who she is?
Her husband owns a bank. Does that give her character?
Pat, please.
I hope you won't upset those parents. It'll make it very difficult.
Do I understand, Mr. Rigsby, that you feel that a cloud of unresolved doubt, so long as very few people are upset about it, is better than the truth?
Let us have the truth by all means. But I warn you not to talk to those little girls without the parents' permission.
Then how do you think...
I understand. We'll only talk to Mr. Beatty for now.
We hope to see you on our staff this fall, Miss Medwick. Good day.
Good day.
It is an illness, you know. You must think of it that way.
Did you hear Mr. Medwick say he was going to report her?
Yes, he did say so. But it has nothing to do with me. I live around the corner. I was just coming back to my class.
Yes, of course. We're just trying to find out what happened. Mrs. Tawley was very angry, wasn't she?
Well, she didn't like it, I suppose.
Did she speak to you?
A few words, nothing.
Well, did you see her give the child the note?
No, that was when after school let out. That was later on. Now, please, I don't know anything about it. If you'll excuse me, my 5th graders.
Is one of them Mary Jane Ryder?
Yes, the last row, the girl with the red ribbon.
Oh, Pat, please, we promise.
Not about this child we didn't. Hi.
Hi.
You Mary Jane?
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember yesterday when Mrs. Tawley handed you a note?
Sure.
Where did she get it, do you know?
She didn't tell me.
Did you see her writing anything?
Yes, I did, with a silver pencil.
You can't, sir. Please, not the children. Absolutely not.
Thank you, honey.
Mrs. Tawley was writing? Is that what she said?
Yes.
Listen, Mrs. Tawley said that Mr. Medwick was a vicious old man. She wrote the note. Is that what you think?
A vicious old man? Are you sure? Did you see the note?
No. What did it say?
Has nothing to do with you, remember?
I don't believe it. I can't believe it. Mrs. Tawley wouldn't.
Her name is all over it. She finds, mind you, a note in her car, and in that note is the very same word she used to Beatty. Vicious.
I don't know, Mrs. Tawley, but it's sickening.
Yes. Yes, it is, honey.
Medwick, if it's about that old man, I'm not going to talk about it.
I'm afraid you'll have to. You have a daughter?
Yes, I do. And I'm not going to talk about it. And I'm not going to let her talk about it. I don't want her to even think about it. And I'm going to have to ask you to go away.
Look, we've got to know what you've been saying about Mr. Medwick.
Well, you have no right to come into my home. Sidney?
What's the trouble?
It's about that old man.
We've come to find out just what your wife has said against Mr. Medwick.
I understand that they got rid of him.
What we want to know is why.
Why?
Exactly what is your complaint?
You know good and well what the complaint is. A man like that has no business anywhere near a child.
Did your daughter complain to you? May we speak to her?
Well, you may certainly not. She's not going to get any bad dreams or emotional setback out of this filthy business.
What filthy business? When, for instance, did you hear about the note?
Well, Mrs. Parker called me. Well, such a thing. Absolutely horrible.
I see. It was after you heard about the note you questioned your little girl.
Well, of course I questioned her. My Betty. Her beautiful hair. Oh, Sid.
That's about enough. Good day.
I'm sorry, Dr. Sinden, but this is ridiculous.
It is, huh?
Yes, it is. That note is a lie. The old man's got this hanging over his head, and you won't even tell us what your complaint is.
He ought to be horsewhipped, in my opinion.
Please. Now, Dr. Sinden, can't we talk about this more calmly?
Your wife is obviously pretty. She's a bit on the neurotic side, and she's jumped to a conclusion. Now, listen to me. You're ruining a man for no cause.
No cause, huh?
Dr. Sinden, I understand how you feel about the child.
I guess it must be pretty disgusting to have to think about a thing like this right in your family.
You refuse to let us see the child?
I sure do. But I'll tell you this much. The old man put his paws on her hair.
Do you know Mr. Medwick?
I don't want to know him.
You can't say I'm neurotic. I'm not the only one. There's Mrs. Tawley. When I called her, she said she'd speak to her Joanne. Well, she called me back, and it was so. And her son Ron was in that old man's house at that very minute, and she couldn't stand that. She didn't want him near any such dreadful people.
Now that you have my wife in a state, will you leave?
We'd be glad to.
Listen, Janie, I don't know all their names or who their fathers are. I'm there to keep the whole kit and caboodle of them from getting killed in the streets. Oh, I may have touched her hair. I grab them any way I can when they disobey and there's a car coming.
He's a pretty tough old rooster. Whose way do you want to try this time?
Let me do it. I'm all right.
How do you do, Miss Medwick?
Mrs. Tawley, I'd like you to meet my fiancé, Patrick Lawrence.
How do you do?
Won't you sit down?
Thank you.
We've come to ask your help.
Oh, if there's anything I can do.
Yes, well, it's about my grandfather.
I see.
We're very upset.
Oh, I'm sure you are.
So if you could just tell us whatever you can.
What is it I could tell you, my dear?
Well, first of all, about Joanne. Mrs. Sinden had called you.
Yes, she had. I questioned Joanne, of course. It does seem that she and many of her friends have, well, disliked Mr. Medwick for some time.
Disliked?
I wonder if we could talk to Joanne.
Oh, no, I don't think that would be desirable. We must be so careful, mustn't we? And she can't, of course, tell you anything specific. When I pressed her, she burst into tears, poor baby.
And it was on this basis that you took your son out of my grandfather's house, lest he be contaminated.
Oh, my dear, you must try and understand a mother's reaction. It was no reflection, really, on you.
Yes, I quite understand. I only wish you'd had the courage to tell me what it was you were reacting to.
Have you spoken to Mabel Sinden?
Yes. She's very high-strung and hysterical, isn't she?
Indeed.
You're not being very specific either, are you?
You know of the existence of a note.
Where did you get that note, Mrs. Tawley?
I found it lying in the seat of my car, Mr. Lawrence, when I came out of my meeting.
Did you know that the word vicious was applied to Mr. Medwick in that note?
Was it?
Do you remember talking to a young man on the corner? You were, very angry.
Well, I'm afraid I was annoyed. I was, of course, sorry that I failed to notice the stop sign, but I do think a warning would have been quite enough.
You were annoyed enough to use the word vicious?
No.
We're trying to find out who wrote that note.
I have no idea.
What were you carrying in your hands?
Oh, my cards. I make notes about my meetings on little cards.
Did you write that note?
Are you calling me a liar? I don't think I care to hear any more.
How do you explain that a word you used was in that note?
I used no word, and I'm not required to explain anything. You're rude and impossible.
Mrs. Sinden's evidence is worthless.
Will you please leave?
What's going on here?
Oh, Malcolm, these people came here, accused me.
My name is Lawrence. This is Jane Medwick. We came about the crossing guard.
Well?
We want to know if your wife wrote that anonymous note.
Did you ask her?
Yes.
Did she tell you?
I didn't write that note. I found it. I told them.
Okay, that's enough.
If we tell you the crossing guard did no wrong, is that enough? How come almost all of this comes through your wife? She was pretty mad at the old man, you know?
Think you better try and calm down a bit, young fellow.
Then you can't explain.
Oh, please, Pat. We're trying to get at the truth.
Why don't you listen to it then? Mrs. Tawley said she didn't write the note. Okay, that's it.
Mr. Medwick tells us he did no wrong. That should be it, but it isn't.
What are you getting at?
I'm getting at a lie about a man. There is such a thing as a lawsuit for defamation of character by malicious and false accusation causing anguish of mind and loss of employment.
Who are you going to sue?
Whoever wrote that note.
Go ahead.
It's a pretty remarkable coincidence that a word used by your wife was in that note.
What's this?
Oh, it's not so. I told them.
Suits go two ways. Try it.
We may do that. We may have to.
Oh, what's the matter, Mama?
Oh, it's nothing for you to worry about, dear. It's that Jane Medwick came here.
Well, she did?
Had the audacity to say that I started the story about the old man. It's just making me sick.
Well, what did Dad say?
Oh, your father. He's right, I suppose. He says that if I hadn't gone through the stop sign in the first place, I wouldn't be in this trouble. Well, I suppose I'm exaggerating. Never mind. Oh, don't worry. You know I'm not a liar. I know you're on my side.
Better not. Look, Pat, you want this straight, don't you, from the legal viewpoint?
But why not?
Because you've got nothing. I wouldn't touch it, sorry.
Well, what do I need?
Proof.
Well, what kind of proof? The woman Tawley was seen holding a note?
Now, the child's testimony on that isn't going to be very potent. Anyhow, the woman explained
The
what...
child's testimony against Medwick has been damned potent, and we can't get near the children. Now, why can't we make this Mrs. Tawley prove that she didn't write the note?
She doesn't need any proof.
What are you saying?
You're on the wrong side of public opinion.
What?
Nobody's going to stand for any monkey business around the school children, so you've got the public solid against you from the start.
Look, I'm telling you, this man is okay. Some joker, probably this Tawley woman, wrote a lying note about him. I'm not willing to concede that you can ruin a man's life with a lie.
It's been done.
That doesn't concern me.
If you could just bring me proof, even then it wouldn't be easy.
I'm not asking that it be easy. I'm only asking that it be possible.
Do you realize that Malcolm Tawley could rip your little printing business stem from stern if you put his wife on a spot like this?
Yes, so?
Wouldn't touch it.
Oh. I see. You're in business, too.
Pat, you've come here for advice. I'm giving it to you. You want me to con you into a hopeless mess?
Public opinion, huh? What about the newspapers?
Wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot proverbial. And listen, the old coot could be guilty, you know, and then where are you? Just leave it, Pat. I'm sorry, Miss... Excuse me, I forgot the name.
My name is Medwick.
Maybe your Uncle Jeffrey was right.
We've done something wrong, Pat. Somewhere along the line, we've gotten off on the wrong track, and I don't know where.
Honey, you're exhausted. I'll take you home, and then maybe I'll try a couple of things.
Can we fight again tomorrow?
Sure we can. Sure we can.
Do I understand you threatened Malcolm Tawley's wife with a lawsuit this afternoon?
I guess so.
I really think you and Jane have behaved like a pair of silly children.
Is that so? Well, how would you grown-ups have behaved?
An empty threat is pretty childish. There'll be no more talk about suing around here.
I should say that's up to you, sir.
I know it.
I think you ought to sue. Whoever started this wicked story deserves to be sued.
You're thinking, Pat, that we're afraid of Malcolm Tolley. You're wrong.
If I felt there were any chance of pinning this on Mrs. Tolley, I'd be delighted. What I resent is having to back down.
Well, here's what I want to do. I want that note in the police laboratory. I want to talk to all the children in the school, maybe at assembly. I want to ring doorbells on that street. I want witnesses, testimony, facts.
Pat, I understand you went to see my doctor.
Yes.
What for?
Oh, Grandpa, it isn't that Pat didn't believe you. It's just that we wanted to find out if there was any way to prove by science that you aren't... Well, that you couldn't...
Was there?
Appears to me a lot of people don't believe to me, and ain't going to. I went downtown today. Talked to a man's got a newsstand. Said he could give me about 5 or 6 hours a day. It's not a bad deal.
You're giving up?
I've swallowed down considerable and lived beyond it, son. I can't see why I have to go to a doctor to find out what kind I am. You young folks had to try. I figure I gotta make my own plans. Don't make a lot of difference what a lot of fool women are saying.
Grandpa, it does matter.
Now, don't start bawling again, Janie. You young folks try to help me out, and I appreciate it.
That sounds like a very nice kind of work, James. And you wouldn't be out of doors when the rains start.
No.
It's up to him.
No.
You said so yourself. If this is the way he wants it.
If I said that, I was wrong. Security? A question of security? Right. The group is going to be good and secure, huh? The school children spared the risk, so all is well. These people protected the young. Sure they did. And I can go out tomorrow and write a little note with a nicely chosen lie in it about anyone. For a whim. I can ruin Dr. Sinden. I can chop down Mrs. Parker. I can even pull the Tolley's castle down. Just with a lie. And who's gonna stop me? The law? Science? The victims themselves? Who's gonna stop me? This is security. I can cast you all beyond the social pale with a pencil and a piece of paper. Security? I say if we give up, there is the risk, and it's you are being reckless. And if you're gonna tell me it's none of my business, don't try. It is my business. Let it go this time? No, we don't dare.
Ron, will you please come out? I want to talk to you. Ron, believe me, you don't understand.
Listen, Miss Medwick, you better get out of the way.
No, I want to talk to you.
You better let me out.
No.
Okay.
Ron.
You're sure that's all, darling?
I'm fine. The bleeding stopped.
Look, you can't.
Just sit still.
Tolley will be here any minute. We'll see. Now we're gonna see. He's coming running now that his precious brat's in trouble.
Well, she wouldn't get out of the way.
Sit still.
Well, she can't go around calling my mother a liar.
Best you shut up and sit still.
Well, I'm not gonna run away.
That's right, you won't.
Now, if you can hold this, dear. Oh, it feels much better, thank you.
Janie, if he's hurt you bad...
Now, Dad, now, take it easy. I'm handling this.
What were you doing here?
Well, they were telling lies about Mom. You weren't doing anything.
Oh, Ronnie.
What did you intend?
Well, I don't know.
He was outside the house looking through that window there. Janie, let them see. That's what your son did to a woman. Now, You did that?
Well, she was in the way. I knocked her down, I guess. But I didn't mean to.
Now, what was in your mind?
About these lies. Somebody wrote a lying note about my father. Now, if Mrs. Tawley will admit and quash that lie...
She can't do that. She didn't write the note.
All right. I thought maybe we could straighten this thing out, but, okay. I'll call the police and turn the boy in.
Oh, no,
Do
please.
it. Be quiet, Mary. If this boy has done something illegal, then go ahead. Call the police.
That was a wicked lie about James. You've got to take it back.
But
She can't take back what she never wrote or said.
Your son has done something that he had no business doing. This thing can get into court, you know, and then we'll see what else comes out. We have excellent reason to believe that Mrs. Tawley did write that note. It'll be very interesting to get this all out for an airing. Meanwhile, the boy may end up in jail.
My son will have to stand up to whatever he did. And if you want to air the rest of it, let's air it. Mrs. Tawley did not write that note, and you cannot make her say she did by blackmail or any other method.
Now, we won't stand for this, Tawley. You can't send a teenager around to beat up on young women.
You can't make my wife into a liar.
All right, then we'll leave this up to a judge to decide about your son's methods.
Now, wait a minute. You'll all just have to wait a minute, because I will not testify before any judge in any court or any place against your son, Mr. Tawley.
Jane, do you realize what you're saying?
I don't know why he came here or what he had planned, or if he had a plan. But the truth is, if he hurt me, it's as he said. I wouldn't get out of his way. He wanted to leave, and I wanted to talk to him. So he pushed me. But he didn't come here with the purpose of hurting me, and I won't say that he did.
Are you sticking up for that hoodlum?
If that's the truth, she has to tell it.
Thank you, Miss Medwick. You're very fair. Please now be fair to me, too. I would never have done a thing like that to your grandfather. I did think he was officious, but believe me, please.
What did you say?
What?
That last word. Did you say officious?
Why, yes.
Did you say that to the teacher, Beatty?
Why, I guess so.
Would you spell it, please?
O-F-F-I-C-I-O-U-S.
But he heard you wrong. He thought you said vicious.
V-I-C-I-O-U-S.
Could Beatty have written that note?
Who is he? Where is he?
We'll go see him.
Let's go.
James.
Now, Mother, I'm not sick and I'm not tired. I'm not even
Ron, you
upset.
see your mother.
There's been a lot of
You're holding
work
on,
on my
I'll stay
behalf
with Mother.
today, and this time I'm going along, too.
Mr. Beatty?
Yes?
We'd like to ask you some questions.
I'm Malcolm Tawley.
Oh, well, yes, certainly.
When Mrs. Tawley spoke to you yesterday, you said she used the word vicious. Will you spell it, please?
Spell? Why, V-I-C-I-O-U-S. Is this a spelling bee?
What was the whole sentence?
Not sentence, a vicious old man, all she said.
What does that word mean to you?
Look, I don't know what you people want.
Do you dislike Mr. Medwick?
I don't dislike anybody.
You wrote that note and put it in her car.
I never did anything of the kind. I never went near that car. Are you trying to blame me for this? Look, there were other people around when it happened. They saw it. They saw it just as well as I did. Maybe one of them wrote the note. Why don't you try to find them?
Wait a minute. That red and white car there. I remember now. It drove up just before Mrs. Tawley. It parked beside that vacant house, and a man and woman got out. The woman hurried into the house, but the man just stood there staring.
What was he staring at?
I haven't any idea.
There you are. He must have seen what happened. Maybe he even saw who put the note in the car. But you don't care. You want to believe I wrote it.
If you did, we'll prove it. Good evening, ma'am. We're some of your neighbors. We would like to ask you a few questions. Mrs.
Crane.
Mrs. Crane?
Well, we're not settled. I hope you'll excuse... Well, come on in.
Thank you.
Harry?
We'd like to know if you happened to see a little incident on the corner yesterday.
Say, isn't that Georgie Clooney from Kansas City?
What's this?
Oh, you were going to get rid of him. And now he walks right in the house. You got to get rid of him.
Gonna get rid of him, eh, Mr. Crane? Maybe you sent a little note to the president of the PTA.
What note?
Please, Mr. Medwick, please don't say anything about me. I just can't stand anymore. Harry was only trying to...
Shut up, stupid. You put that note into the convertible. You thought that the driver was the president of the PTA.
Yeah, well, now, listen, now, wait a minute. Sure, I knew she was the president. She said so. And now she said herself he was a vicious old man.
That does it.
Little Georgie Clooney. Well, what do you know?
I didn't tell him to do that. I only want to live here.
What was the matter, Georgie? Do you think I'd spread that old story around to hurt you? Well, you should have just come to me and said hello.
Oh, you had to get rid of him. Now, look, I don't want any trouble.
You've got trouble.
Little Georgie Clooney. Just imagine.
Mr. Medwick, what did Georgie do?
Yeah. I don't want this spread around now.
Not a word.
Well, she was just a kid, about 16 years old. No folks, living alone in a rooming house where I knew the people. So I was interested. I guess everybody was. Well, sir, this Georgie was doing a burlesque act in a roadhouse. Somebody raised a fuss. Oh, they raised a hullabaloo. There were pictures in the paper, and oh, I guess they never ran a picture of the act she actually did do. Georgie Clooney, just a crazy, mixed-up 16-year-old kid. Never did know what became of her.
Was that it? Only 16 years old, and she's been haunted all her life.
Come on, I'll drive you home.
I guess he's all right.
And after a long, hard day, and none of it had to be. Just 2 cents worth of honest goodwill and...
Well, that's the way it goes, dear, with these kind of people.